Hey guys, this is part 1 of my top 10 favorite books of all time video series. This list is classics heavy, and that's because I read almost exclusively classics until about 2 years ago. I'm sure this list will change over the years, and that's one of the reasons I want to make these videos now, is to memorialize the list as it is at this time in my life. Today I'm going to talk about numbers 10 to 7, and obviously I love these books to pieces, so I can't go into all the reasons why I love them, but hopefully my highlights will give you an idea of why I think each of these books is worth a read. Coming in at number 10 is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I read this when I was 16 years old, years before I identified as a feminist, so it's only become more important to me as I've gotten older. This is about a 19-year-old girl named Esther Greenwood who's trapped in that wonderful time in life when she's both wise and naive. So there are moments when she seems really sophisticated and worldly, and then she'll say or do something that just reminds you of how artless and lost she really is. She's self-aware, but only when it serves her. So there's this scene where her mother tells her that she didn't get an internship at a magazine, and before you can tell she definitely thought she was going to get it. As soon as she learns she didn't, she thinks, oh, I knew I wasn't going to get it. And there are so many moments like that that remind you how much finagling and forgetting we have to do to make the narratives of our lives make sense. Esther experiences a mental breakdown, and I haven't read another book that handles mental illness this well, that shows you how easily rationality and irrationality can coexist. Throughout the book, Esther meets various women, but for her, each of them is defined by what she lacks. So if a woman is really sexy, she doesn't have a good job. If she has a good job, she doesn't have a good marriage or a good family, and on and on and on. And it's implied that part of the reason that she experiences a mental breakdown is that she has no compelling female role models, so she thinks that being a woman means giving up your desires one by one. And the fig tree scene, I don't have time to get into it here, but it is the most powerful symbol that I've ever read in a book. Number 9 is Wives and Daughters by Elizabeth Gaskell. I have also read North and South and Cranford, but I think that this is her masterpiece. This is the closest you can get in literature to real flesh and blood human beings. The story centers on two young women named Molly and Cynthia who become stepsisters, and Molly's main character trait is kindness, but she's also intelligent and relatable, which sounds like it wouldn't be special, but it is. So many writers act like if a character is smart or observant enough, that character won't be especially kind, that you can almost outthink the need for kindness. Or they swing in the other direction and kind characters become completely insipid and boring, think Lucy Manette or any of the Disney versions of Cinderella. So Molly herself is an achievement, and then there's Cynthia, who is full of contradictions. She's not kind or caring, and she doesn't think very much about making other people feel comfortable, but she's so likable, and she's charming and thoughtless, but not empty-headed. She's much more self-aware and self-critical than Molly. So you get these two characters who are fleshed out to the point where they just leap off the page, and then you get this beautiful relationship that springs up between them where they love and support each other even when they can't understand or sympathize with each other. And it's not just Molly and Cynthia. For me, Wives and Daughters is the gold standard for character and relationship studies, and I just adore it. Just in case I wasn't going to be the biggest cliche that ever existed, number 8 is Persuasion by Jane Austen. I've read all of Austen's novels except for Mansfield Park and loved 4 out of the 5 of them. Not a huge fan of Northanger Abbey, but this is without a doubt my favorite, mostly because of the character of Anne Elliot. When Anne was younger, she fell in love with a man, but her family persuaded her not to marry him. Now it's a decade later, she's still unmarried, and this man comes back into her life, but he is distinguished and desirable, and her prospects have plummeted, and she feels pathetic and dowdy next to him. Anne is my favorite Austen heroine. I think for a lot of readers, Elizabeth Bennet is the kind of person that we want to be, but as much as it pains me to say this, people, okay, most of us are not Elizabeth Bennet. We're not that magnetic. We don't always say the cleverest thing at the right moment, and we sometimes doubt our self-worth. Anne has all those traits, and she's also dignified and gentle and stronger than even she knows herself to be, so I think she's underrated. This is still an Austen novel, so everyone gets a happy ending, unless you're Lady Anne Wickham, in which case you get each other. But there's a special ache that is captured in Persuasion. It freezes life at its most tremulous. And that letter at the end Like, I am not even a romantic person, but I was actually fanning myself. Sweet lord. And the last one for this video, number 7, Anna Karenina by Lev Tolstoy. I can't think of a book that has more hype surrounding it, so for it to live up to the hype was almost impossible, and it did. Like, this is such an amazing reading experience. You probably know the story. Anna is married to her husband Karenin, who's not a bad man, but he's dull, and then she falls in love with a dashing young count named Vronsky, and then there's this character named Levin who allows Tolstoy to intellectually masturbate for hundreds of pages when you're not with Anna, but it's done so well that you feel appreciative instead of irritated. This examines every aspect of life that you can think of. Love, loneliness, guilt, death, betrayal, scandal, tenderness, belonging. And it also examines issues particular to Russia, like politics, peasant life, Moscow versus St. Petersburg. And he makes all this epicness feel floaty and fun. I mean, there was one section of the 8 where Levin was out working in the field with the peasants, and it got to the point where I was like, okay, I can think of a few things I want to do with that scythe. But in general, people, I'm telling you, don't be intimidated by this. It is a glorified soap opera and so readable. I'm gonna assume you know the ending. If not, I won't spoil it for you, but also I hope that cave you crawled out of was peaceful. But the extraordinary thing about the ending is that you know it's coming. You've known for over 800 pages how this is gonna wind up. But the novel is so full of life, and in life, change is infinitely possible. So you think, maybe it won't happen. Like, maybe the time that I read it will be the time that something is different. I mean, it's kind of like any really well-written book about Anne Boleyn. I know she's not walking out of this with her head, so why am I on the edge of my seat? That's what Anna Karenina does, and it left me breathless. That's it for today. Let me know what you think about these books, and I hope you stay tuned for the next installment where I'll talk about numbers 6 through 4. Bye. Thanks for watching.